Okay, welcome to a Stampscapes tweak video, I guess we can call it. I stamped out this half page, 4¼ by 11" piece. I don't know when it was, a few months ago probably. And I've been looking at this scene and, it was kind of an experiment with a certain color scheme that I had kind of dug out of the past, and I really liked that, and I wanted to play around with the trees and some light beams. But the scene itself, it was okay, but it looked a little anemic. But I thought, this scene could be a good candidate to be a mirror card. So I've taken a full page piece of paper, scored it down the middle, folded it in half like that, and then placed I was going to put the silver mirrored foil down here, but I'm out of that, so I'm just using a gold piece of the mirrored foil like that. And what I've done is I've adhered them to the inside of this card, if you haven't seen the mirror cards before, to give it that mirrored reflection type of thing. So instead of just being a scene right now, just on its own, this top portion right here, now it is a component with this more three-dimensional aspect. Okay, so what I'm doing to this piece right here is I'm going to do a little bit of some tweaks on it. Okay, now this scene right here has these embossed images in the foreground. I wanted them to stand out a little bit more. And I don't know how much I can do that, but this bottom portion and just the overall framing could use a little bit more of kind of a foundational framing device, a contrast to it. Okay, so I want to go a little bit darker around here. But the thing is about this scene right here is I already spray sealed it. It is a semi-gloss cardstock. You can see the embossed portions are real shiny with the clear embossing powder over the probably black VersaFine Clair, I'm guessing. I don't remember what black I used for that, but I'm going to see if I can apply some of my black Brilliance ink right around here in the corners, just to give this, again, a little bit more of a kind of a solid foundation now that I've formatted this into a mirror card. I want this water's edge to be just a little bit more substantial, okay? So let's go ahead and try to do that. Okay, so like I said, this piece has been spray sealed, so we can't use certain types of media over the top of spray sealed areas, okay? It's an acrylic sealant. So like a dye-based ink just isn't going to adhere to that type of thing. So we're going back to something that's fairly thick and will adhere to the surface now that it has been altered by the sealant. Okay, so thick is pigment, and this particular pigment ink can dry on a sealed surface. All right, so I'm not going to go for anything too drastic with this black ink, okay? I just want to, I don't know, kind of combine these reeds on the water's edge a little bit more. Before it just kind of represented some grass in the foreground, but now it's going to be something on the side of a pond or lake or something like that. Okay, just body of water in general, and that's what those mirrored areas are represent. Okay, so I'm masking off that mirrored portion down here and applying the ink. Okay, it's going on just fine, I see. All right, really concentrated it on the bottom corners like that. And I'll go up into my reeds a little bit around the edge. What this is, we're trying to do kind of a vignette type of effect here. All right. This scene in general, I thought it looked a little, kind of anemic from a color value standpoint in terms of lights and darks, and also intensity. And while we do go through a spectrum of a certain color scheme here, it just, I don't know, it just wasn't doing it for me. Okay, so that is a little bit more of a stronger framing device, and especially I like to make my water's edge darker, along here. But, I'm already starting off with something that's already established, and is supposed to be light right here in the middle. So I have these trees here casting the shadows. The corners like this are, I don't know, like I said, it's almost like a frame. So you see this kind of stronger kind of oval right here now. So that is pushing value. Okay, if you go one step darker out here, anything that's lighter will seem one step lighter by contrast. Okay, so that is that. Now, I want to add in some foreground here. This is going to represent the other side of this little body of water here. I guess it wouldn't be a lake, it'd be more like a stream or something like that, or I don't know, a seasonal pool or something like that in the forest. So I'm going to stamp something right here in my bottom right and left corners, because when you look at these mirror cards, they're really effective when you look at them at a certain angle, okay, or angles. If you like this, it doesn't really make sense, but you have this at this 45-degree angle, and this is what this looks like right here. So we will kind of want to eradicate this little edge right here where this is, showing where, an area that this doesn't cover, right? Because we're going back in perspective here, having this kind of come out at us like this. So kind of obscuring this a little bit. We don't have to cover the whole thing. A lot of times I go with taller trees up here, but I just want to go with some more of this type of formation down here. Okay, so that being said, these were embossed here. So I want to add the leaves down here in the corner, but I wish I would have done it up here too. But like I said, these are raised, so I can't really just stamp this right over this embossed, grassy image right there. So I won't do this leaf stamp on this scene right here. We have those pines coming over, but I could add a little bit more up there too. But okay, so this bottom portion, I am going to stamp the imagery out in a stays on black, okay? Now, one of the things I want to do too, if you go all stays on the bottom portion, you won't have to spray seal this. But I think I might want to add a quote in here. There's a big area down there, big open area, and it just seems a little bit too open. So I might stamp out my quote stamp in a white brilliance ink. Because I haven't gotten around to picking up a white stays on ink re-inker, and I really need that. Okay, so hit that like button. Let's, I use that, the monetization of this channel goes towards more supplies to experiment with. Test things out. So like, comment, subscribe, please, if you like the content here. Okay, so adding in the leaf stamp here. Watch out when you're going stamping on this real slippery, mirrored surface, okay? It's easy to kind of skew it because you're stamping wet ink onto a, a very slick, non-porous surface here in the foils, okay? The stays on, I don't find too much kind of that slipping type of feeling as much as when I use like a thicker brilliance ink over here or something like that. But it's still much slicker than, a piece of cardstock, be it matte or glossy, because those are porous, so the ink is soaking into the surface a lot more. So, but on this one, your ink is always staying 100% on the surface. So the thicker the ink, the more prone we are to kind of skewing the image a little bit. I still do it. You have to kind of get used to it. Just, like stamping once on the top of like a practice you know, a piece of paper, and then you're good to go. But if you don't stamp on the, you know, the non-porous surfaces for a while, sometimes you got to get the feel of, you got to be real decisive and not press too far down, otherwise it might go like that on you. But like I said, the stay is on so much thinner ink than you know, the pigment inks. Okay, so there's my foreground in here. See this? Oh yeah, that looks like that. But we do need some of those reeds in here. I don't know. I might try to stamp something in here with the these leaves. Let's do that next. Okay. Just because it's good to have, you know, something that's on that side of the water repeated over here and vice versa. You know, otherwise it might look kind of a little out of place. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so kind of interspersing. You don't have to just do one or the other. You know, there's plenty of, you know, different types of foliage naturally in different terrains. There might be one dominant type of species, you know, something like that, but by and large, kind of mix and match. I don't do that all the time, but I should do it more. I like these leaves and these grasses used together. Okay, so close side of the pond. See this right here? We have this foliage down here. Okay. Well, look at that light beam right there. It's picking up the lights of my studio, but it kind of looks fitting in that location. Okay, so let's see. I think that stays on is dry right here. Let's try to get a couple impressions of these you know, the leaves on the other side of the pond. Like I said, the hard thing is that these reeds are raised, so I'm just not quite sure how this is going to stamp over the top of that. If it shows up at all, I'll be happy, I guess. You know, if it's kind of interspersed in there. I don't know. Hopefully it just kind of reads as texture, because it's not going to be able to get into the grooves in between all that. So that's the problem. And I know that going into it, but let's see if we can get some of this texture in there. Yeah, it's not too bad. Actually, it's not too bad at all. It's squeezed in better than I thought. But it'll give the background, well, it's not really background, I guess it's just other side of the pond, familiarity with the near side of the pond again. You're reiterating shape and texture. Okay. Maybe that was two on this one. Maybe it was just all those reeds. I used a ton of them in this piece. I don't know. Maybe it just needed some of those additional textures. That's really helping it out, isn't it? I've been wanting to get around to this one for a while. The tweaking of it, because I liked what was happening in the overall piece, but I don't know, it needed a little bit of help, and I looked at it for a while not knowing what I would like to try to do with it, or I don't know, maybe I wasn't even thinking that, but it occurred to me that the mirror could work. I guess that even just adding these leaves down here is really helping it out from a textural standpoint. So I guess the mirror will be maybe just I don't know, whatever, icing on the cake. Or I thought the mirror would be that. Or the leaves. Maybe the leaves are a little bit more substantial an element. Yeah, it looks better now, doesn't it? You have these leaves over here, leaves right here in the foreground, like so. It looks, to me, this piece, I think it's looking a little bit more quaint. I guess that's the word that comes to mind. You created this little pond in here, and I don't know, it's like this whole ecosystem in here now. This top portion, just like that, I mean, I guess it's a little bit more grand or something, but then when you add in this, but look at that. Look at that water's edge right here come into place. So when someone's opening this up, it looks like that. And you get that nice water's edge. Okay, so here's the other thing. Well, there's a couple other things here. Like I said, I'm thinking about going in with some quote stamp. But also, I'm thinking about splatter painting this whole thing. Because this whole area up here, it can use a little bit of extra texture. I did use the white paint pen to reiterate lighting in here. You really can't see it very well. But I don't know, it just adds a little bit of textural kind of interest in here. And I just realized I have this neck thing on. My neck was a little bit sore, and I found that neck thing that you throw in the microwave and it heats up. I gave it to my wife a few years ago. Anyway, a quote stamp, okay? So this area in this pond right here, this is big area down here, like that. And it just, I think it looks okay, but it seems like we can have something else in here. Now, I don't want to compete with the deer in here with like another animal or something like that, or, fishermen or something like that. The scale would be off with my fishermen, at least, in here. So the quote stamps, are a really good solution in terms of, oh, it's like a visual interest. It's, quote stamps, words, just in general, are natural focal points. And I've always loved the marriage of typography and imagery, just from my experience in graphic design and whatnot, classes. I'm not a graphic designer by trade, but I've always looked at things like lettering and typography and whatnot, and took a lot of classes in that, getting my degree. So doing something like this is just a really easy way to, I don't know, make yourself into a graphic designer by adding these elements within your scenes. We're usually thinking about cards or something like that and little elements running around it. But in landscapes, you can stamp that quote right into your area. It looks really great in skies or something like that. I don't have much of a sky in here. But we can add this right into the mix like that. See that right there? But look how that looks like that. Isn't that fantastic? It's really three-dimensional like that, because it looks like this area is going straight down, and here this area, that little quote stamp like that, it looks like it's floating on the surface of the water to me. But isn't that a beautiful construction now? I just think this is 100% better looking, kind of creating this, I don't know, project out of just only the scene like that now. Now it's like a full little project. And I mean, this area down here, I mean, this is really simple right here. We have these two stamps used down here, just in black StazOn, and this one right here, just in white, glued onto the bottom of the scene right here. There was no techniques or anything used down here. And all of this stuff, that you've already done up here gets mirrored down here. It's like you get, I don't know, twice as much for your money. But I think it's even more than that. I think it's more like I don't know, the benefits go up exponentially because we get that three-dimensional aspect of things and the parallax, these things kind of moving right here, but the background isn't moving as much, you know. So you get this real three-dimensional type of thing going. Distance, I don't know, kind of dynamics as well. I guess, I was going to go with the silver foil, but I think that the gold foil looks pretty good. I think a lot of times it just gives a different feeling to it. It warms things up a little bit. Certain color schemes. I think there was one color scheme that I wasn't quite sure about, like if it was mostly blues or something like that. I wasn't quite sure about that. But I don't know if I tried that once or not. I know I've done a lot of experimenting with the mirror cards, but I haven't made one for, I don't know, it seems like a month or two. So I don't remember the different color combinations that I have tried so far. I've tried a lot with the silver though, because it's like a straight mirror, but when you're adding this element of temperature into the card, that's a little bit of an extra little consideration, but it's easy to see how it'll look because you can just hold it up to your card before you even kind of format it into a mirror card. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to do some splatter. I'm thinking about splatter painting this whole thing and getting some of that texture down into the mirror too. So, okay, here we go. I'll try not to go overboard with this, but I always do. I don't know, do I say always? 90% of the time, just because, doing the splatter is just, it's fun, and it takes you kind of back, to, I don't know, kind of being a kid. I think that's part of the joys of I don't know, kind of the creative process is kind of having that spirit of a kid. I remember I think it was Picasso who said something like that. He was trying to get back. He spends his life, training and painting and whatever, schooling and the arts. But being an artist, his thing was he wants to get back to that spirit of just kind of an unedited, like real freedom of creativity, like a kid has. They're not thinking about certain things and aspects of the maybe like logical kind of analysis of the pieces as they're working on. He just wants like complete freedom, and there's something to be said for that. Okay, so here we go right here. Here's that splatter right there. You know what I mean? It's just that little bit of texture here and there. You can see I clustered it right down there a little bit, but you can see it in the darker areas a lot more, but there's that little bit of texture running across it. And then see here it is. Some of that might be dust, but that's my little texture down there. But see this right here? I'm talking about those little white dots down here. Let's see if I could show it to you like that. But it just seems like stuff's sitting on the surface, just like the quote right there, and kind of floating. It's like pollen or something like that, or I don't know, just something sitting on the surface of the water. Fairly unobtrusive too. You know what I mean? But they're just giving that extra dimension, so you see these little white little specks on that water surface like that. Doesn't it look so much more three-dimensional like that? But I'm kind of playing around. It's kind of fun looking at the little highlights in here. I just realized I think that's my window behind me. Let me close off my blinds here, so you can see just straight, card here, I think. Yeah, maybe that wasn't my window. I'm not sure. Well, one of them was. Okay, so I think this is, like I said, I'm really pleased with this, with how this came out. I wasn't quite sure, but I was fairly certain that a little bit of extra contrast would help it. Let's get that glare out of here. I don't know. See, this is reflecting off of this, and it kind of reflects back because, I don't know, that's a little bit shiny maybe. But, oh, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's my other window. Hey, when you can't get light out of your card, is that necessarily a bad thing? We're usually trying to get light into the card, like like it, represents some kind of interior lighting within a piece. So there you have it. My mirror card, my mirror card, mirror deer card. So someone gets something like this. You need to put something out here. I got some of that little spray on the outside of that. You can just wipe that off, or you stamp something out here, or put another piece out here, something like that, or some little element out here. It could be just stamping these leaves or something like that in white on black. You don't have to use black either, but see the black, when you use black like that, see, I didn't get like perfectly butted up imagery or cards right here between the gold and that card right there. So when you do it in black like this, that white wouldn't show if this was done in white, my card like this. That's why I think the black works really well in terms of the interior look of that. But anyway, there it is. I think it looks so much better. So I've kind of, in my mind, I've kind of saved the card, or maybe you don't, a little bit better than that. It's really kind of, I got to get that one reflection out of there. That light wants to stay in there, so maybe we'll go up like that. There we go. So someone opens the card like that. See that movement like that, and then you get that three-dimensional look to it. It's just so much more fun now. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And, the big take on this one is if your cards just aren't where you want them to be. I stamped this like months ago, I think. Look at them over time, have them out or something like that on top of a table, and maybe something will occur to you. The expansion of the value scale, adding a little bit more dark into the piece. Textural range, okay, a little bit of white, speckled, Dr. Martens doesn't have to be snow or stars all the time. It could just be texture within a scene. It gave it a different layer. But also dimension, okay? So bringing this out in here. Not all cards are going to work in a mirror card configuration, but this added a lot of depth in here with this lower foil card like that. And then, the quote stamps or something like that, word stamps would look really good. Like even like a word stamp might look interesting in here if it was done in black. If it wasn't a mirror card, and I think that would work too. So just things like that, adding depth to a piece, and kind of an expansion of some different ranges of the visual kind of vocabulary that's used within your pieces. All right, thanks again.